coming, and I'm going to start off by saying I want to get you guys pissed off, because we're all here, we're the choir. We all know we need to change things, but unless you get pissed off, it isn't going to happen. So I'm the director of nutrition services for Boulder Valley School District, but I also have a couple of other hats. I run a foundation, I have a consulting company, and what we're trying to do is change the way we feed our children. That's the goal. This is not an easy thing to do. Okay, it didn't change. Okay, there we go. It's not an easy thing to do. It's really hard to change school food. There's so many issues around it, but we all need to just do one thing. Hungry kids can't learn, malnourished kids can't think, and if you care about it, you need to do one thing. You can't expect someone else to do it. You can't expect that things are going to change if we all don't care. So I talk about regional, organic, seasonal, sustainable food. I want our food to have a face and a place. I want our kids to know where the food comes from and who grew it and who took care of it. Because if our kids don't know these things, if our kids don't know about food, what are we going to do? So I start with regional and I go to organic, food without chemicals, pesticides, herbicides. Really hard in schools. We'll talk about the finances, but there's almost no money in it. So it's really hard, but we can't keep feeding our kids chemicals. I mean, what are we thinking by feeding our kids chemicals every day? We have to stop. One of my big soapboxes is antibiotics. We feed our kids, our families, ourselves 29 million pounds of antibiotics every year because it's consumed in animal husbandry. 80% of all the antibiotics consumed in this country goes to animal husbandry, and we eventually eat it. Like, what is up with that? What are we thinking? Genetically modified organisms, GE organisms. Why shouldn't we have them? No mandatory testing, no mandatory labeling. We have no idea what's going to happen to our children's children's children. And here in Boulder, on our land, are we kidding? GMO BEETS? Really? Pesticides and herbicides, one of my favorite facts. U.S. agriculture uses 1.2 billion pounds of pesticides each year. That's 5 pounds, like one of those 5-pound bags for every single one of us and all of our kids. Now, who in this audience is going to take a spoon and feed kids pesticides, right? We wouldn't do it, but the USD allows it, and the USD paid for this ad. DDT is good for you and me. So what I want you guys to get pissed off about is that no one's going to take care of us and our children's food supply unless we do it, unless all of you do it, unless this becomes personal. Okay, so what do I want? Sustainable food, triple bottom line, people, planet, prosperity, healthy kids, healthy earth, healthy food. That's what we need. Come on, is that so weird? Okay, they call me the renegade. I guess it's because I want kids to eat broccoli. You know, but in less than 200 years, we've gone from a really sustainable system where we all made our own food to one where less than 2% of us actually make the food we consume. We have more prisoners than farmers in our country. 2.3 million prisoners, 1.9 million farmers, and it costs about $30,000 a year to keep a prisoner in prison. Like, what is this country coming to? So there's all kinds of challenges around sustainable food, but for me, the big ones are agribusiness, lobbyists, commodity foods, processed foods. What happened to real food? I mean, where did it go? How did we get so far removed from food that's just food we're going to eat? Okay, we have a little problem with that slide. Oh, there we go. So part of the problem with what's happening is that we have all kinds of plates to tell us what to eat. Everyone's telling us, Harvard's telling us, but that's what's on school food in America. The USDA will pay me $2.77 to feed that to your children every day. So, but what's happening with this system, this industrialized agriculture, you know, downer cows, we all heard the downer cow story in California, in the school food supply. Salmonella-tainted peanut butter. We had 500 million eggs that were bad. And now 36 million pounds of turkey. Where does it end? I mean, food is making our kids sick. Do we get that? The CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, has said that 1 out of every 3 children born in the year 2000 will have diabetes. That's 1 out of every 3 Caucasians and 2 out of every 3 African Americans and Hispanics. Diabetes. And CDC has gone further to say because of this, these children born in the year 2000 will be the first in our country's history to die at a younger age than their parents. We are feeding our kids to death in this country. We need to stop. It has to stop. It has to stop now. We all have to care enough to make it stop. But why is this happening? Big business, spending $17 to $20 billion a year marketing non-nutrient foods to kids. Our kids watch 10,000 commercials a year for food that they shouldn't eat hardly at all. What is that? How is it that we live in a country where these big corporations are deciding what we eat and feed our kids? This is a total social justice, social equity issue. We are increasing the gap, achievement gap, and life expectancy gap 20% a decade between rich and poor. Is that the country we want to live in? We have to be rich to actually even be healthy? That's crazy. So I'm in school food, I'm a lunch lady, so why can't I fix it? You know, I got all this energy, right? 5 big issues. Food, family, food, finance, facilities, human resources, and marketing. These are really big issues. And what it means is that this is the food that most schools feed kids. In fact, when I got to Berkeley, California, home of Alice Waters, that was the food. I walked in and started crying. That's the food these kids were being fed and are being fed. The #1 meal fed to kids in school in America is chicken nuggets, French fries, canned fruit cocktail with high fructose corn syrup, and chocolate milk. What are we thinking? I mean, like, what is that? Who's going to raise their hand and say, oh, I want to feed my kids that every day? But that's what's happening. And don't forget, this is our tax dollars. We'll talk more about this. But every single one of us, whether you have kids or not, is paying for it. And then there's the chicken nuggets. Now, I don't know. There's a lot of entrepreneurs in Boulder, but I don't know who figured out chicken should really be a heart, a giraffe, a star, or a dinosaur. Could we teach kids that chicken is chicken? Do they have to think that chicken is a dinosaur? Well, Tyson thinks so. You know, because they make way more money because there's no chicken in those things, right? So what do I want? I want kids to eat fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, whole grains, healthy protein. For that, I'm called the renegade. Go ahead. I mean, you know, whatever. But to change it, we need to find our kitchens again. We need to cook. In schools, it means building kitchens like this, and I've been blessed to be in Boulder, where all of you have helped raise money for us to do that. But you can't have real food if you don't cook. It means we have to have farm-to-school programs and innovative programs like Food Corps. But it takes a lot of energy. I mean, this is 1 day's produce in Berkeley. We only had 9,600 kids there. And you need the produce and people who can cut it up, and the knives and the walk-ins and the plastic containers and the rolling carts. I mean, where does all that money come from? And if you do that, if you find the food and you get the equipment, you got to educate. You got to educate everybody. I mean, how do we get the kids to actually eat the food? It is not easy. You know, if parents or people are feeding their kids stuff with high fat, high sugar, high salt, how am I going to get them to eat broccoli? This is not easy, you know? We have to have hands-on experiential learning. We're also blessed in Boulder to have the GROWE Foundation that helps us put gardens in schools. I mean, our kids need to know where food comes from. Kids don't know that carrots grow in the ground, for goodness sake. You know, I mean, kids think that milk comes from a grocery store. We have to have curriculum. We have to have local chefs. This happens to be Bradford from Salt. We have to really work at it. We are now living in a country where 1 out of every 4 meals is eaten in a car, 1 out of every 4 in fast food, and 1 out of every 4 in front of a blue screen, iPad, iPhone, iPod, You know, we need to actually sit together, right? I mean, we need to eat together. We need to feed our kids breakfast, universal breakfast, maybe one of the most important things we do. Kids need to eat breakfast that is not high in sugar. You know, I talk to kids in New York City. You know, they're eating soda, or Capri Suns with hot Cheetos. Hello, that's not breakfast. We need to train our staff. I mean, we do a lot of it here in Boulder, but staff needs to be trained. And there's great programs like Cook for America. And we have to put our employees in chef coats. We have to respect them. My employees make less than the custodians. I mean, at least they should make as much, right? We need 30-minute lunch periods. You know what? If our kids we have in Boulder and all across the country schools with 12 and 15 and 16 and 18-minute lunch periods, bell to bell. What is that? Of course the kids can't eat. Okay, School Finance 101, because every time I give this talk, no matter where it is, someone says, we can't afford it. So I'm going to tell you about that. In our country, we are now spending $9.5 billion a year to feed 31 million kids' lunches. $9.5 billion. I think we need to double it. People go, oh my God, in this economy, are you crazy? Sure, call me crazy. We're spending $260 billion, more than $250 billion, on just two diseases, diabetes and obesity. That's $5 billion a week. We are now spending $3 billion a week on the war. $3 billion on the war, $5 billion on two diseases. How can we not spend more on our kids? But I want to bring that home to us. The government gives me $2.77 to feed a kid, $2.77. Now, I bet every single person in this room has been to some coffee shop recently, and you've probably paid $3 or $4 or $5 for some fancy coffee. And you've all probably gone to some bar and spent $3 or $4 or $5 or $6 for a beer, or $8 or $9 or $10 or $15 for a glass of wine. What kind of country do we live in where we think it's okay to spend $3 or $5 or $15 more for our beer, our wine, our coffee, or our tea than we are spending on our children's lunch? Because of that, $2.77, most schools are spending less than $1 on the food, less than $1. In Boulder, we have salad bars. We have organic milk at lunch. We have no trans fats, no high fructose corn syrup. We have salad bars in every school. It's so hard. And it's only going to change if we all want it to change. If we're all willing to just do one thing to make a difference for how we feed kids all across the country. We have to do this. There's no one else. We have to talk to our elected officials. $2.77, which equals $1 for food cost, just isn't enough. I mean, we live in a city where $6,000 bicycles are the norm, right? I mean, what are we thinking here? You know, I am pretty optimistic. I've had the good fortune to be working with Michelle Obama and her team. And we now have a first lady who thinks this is really important. We now have a president who actually in speeches mentioned kids, food, and health in the same sentence. The last president that mentioned kids, food, and schools was Reagan. He made ketchup a vegetable. But with the First Lady, we're working on a project, Let's Move Salad Bars to Schools. And you're going to hear this first. On Tuesday, we're announcing this year that we've given away 1,000 salad bars already. It's amazing. We're giving away all these salad bars, but we need to give away 6,000 salad bars. So we need help doing that. We need to teach kids. We do rainbow days. A salad bar is not enough, you know. If they think croutons and ranch is a salad, you know. We need to work with kids and teach them to eat the rainbow and teach them what real food is. And all of you can help do that. I mean, kids need to know what real food is. Besides doing the salad bar project, the one thing I'm doing, the one other thing, is the Lunchbox Project, which is a web portal that helps school districts all across the country segue from processed food to healthy food. Recipes, menus, educational tools, videos, everything we need. Because I can't be the lunch lady for America. Everybody says, oh, what school district are you going to take over next? You know, I'm 57. There's 15,000 districts. It ain't going to work. So we all have to take this on. Really, you know, it ought to be a birthright in our country that no child is hungry in school, and that every child, every day, gets good, healthy, delicious food in schools. So one thing, please, just do one thing. Thank you.